Come, sisters and brothers, come let us journey together, side by side on the way of life. Come let us go together on the way.
But I want to begin by welcoming you all, and it's nice to see actually people from the different parts of the diocese. So we've got some people there I can see from the southeast. I know that there's a group gathering at the Emmaus parish as well, and then to the other side of the diocese we've got York Peninsula. I can also see that there's some people Northern Light and some of those northern, and then also the metropolitan area. So it's nice to be together. I want to acknowledge, that wherever we are meeting on the lands of the Kaurna people, and we respect their cultural heritage, both past, present, and into the future. We had a wonderful evening. There was an ecumenical gathering last night in relation to the Uluru Statement. So, it's made us all the more conscious of that voice of our Indigenous sisters and brothers, and as we move towards that referendum at the end of this year. So I'm going to pass to Peter. We're going to start with a prayer, and then we'll give a bit of an overview of the evening.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome. We're going to begin tonight with a prayer that we used at the Diocesan Assembly last year in October. And I apologize, you're going to see me twice and hear my voice throughout this whole prayer. So it's not a self-promotion in any way, but this was our musical setting of our prayer for communal discernment and action. So I just invite you to find a place of prayer and reflection in your posture. And as we begin this prayer, we call upon the Holy Spirit, that we recognize the Spirit present and active in our lives now and in this place. So reminder, if you can mute your microphones, that will help with this as well.
Merciful and loving God, author of our story, animator of our mission, and hope of our future, you have called us to be your family in this place, to discuss the things that matter to us, to discern the path ahead, and to share in the life and mission of your Son, Jesus. We ask you to make us ready for the work at hand. Compassion, courage, and love.
Prepare our minds,
that we may receive your wisdom, dream new dreams, and be open to new ideas. other, perceive the need of our neighbor, and envision new horizons. We may hear your voice, listen deeply to the other, and attend to the voice within.
Make us ready, Holy Spirit, come.
That we may speak on behalf of the voiceless, cry out for justice, and bear witness to your love. That we may walk in the footsteps of Jesus, go to the peripheries, and accompany one another on the way. Sisters and brothers, heal wounds and build bridges of peace. That we may be your one body, eliminate borders of exclusion, and welcome all into your love. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Thank you, Peter. And so we're going to begin tonight talking about our regional assemblies. And one of the blessings we have in our particular team is Peter and his creativity and trying to visualize what this might look like. So this is the vision that we're trying to, create for our regional assembly. So it's trying to depict, the whole of the church in a regional area. So there's households and people and churches and schools represented there, and then obviously the communities that we live in. So if we talk about why we're actually having a regional assembly after 2 diocesan assemblies, it's another opportunity for us to look at our priorities from the diocesan assembly feedback and to actually look at that in our local context, recognising that there are regions that have different realities, and it's an opportunity to reflect and explore on that. There are also, like, one of the things that I know a lot of parishes and communities have done is that there's been parish assemblies, there's been community forums and other types of synodal gatherings. And those things continue to still happen, and we encourage them to still happen at that level. And this is, perhaps another suggestion of a way that we can move forward. So we've adopted, as you know, "Together on the Way" as our catchphrase, which really is the meaning of the word synodal, and trying to, reflect on the journey that we've been on so far. So we're moving towards a regional assembly, and also then we've got the synod in front of us as well. So in terms of a process, just to recap where we've been so far, and this is so far in the last 2 years, recognizing that there's much more that's become has been before us. So this is just us reflecting on this last little period. So we went into our first diocesan assembly, which was phase 1, our story, our mission, and our future. So we held a consultation and discernment process in that initial stage leading up to that, and hosted our first assembly in September of that year, the Diocesan Assembly. And that was an opportunity after COVID, which really is still among us, but it was the first opportunity that we could gather in large numbers to do that. And then at the end of that year, and till the end of last year, we formed what was the interim Diocesan Pastoral Council. And then we moved into our next phase. So we were looking then towards, we promised at the end of the assembly in 2021 that in October 2022 that we would have another diocesan assembly as a way of getting some rhythm going in the Archdiocese after a break in that. And so there was a process where communities were encouraged to reflect on the feedback and on the recommendations from the 2021 Diocesan Assembly. And then there was a period of discerning diocesan-wide key priorities and actions, and we took those into our 2022 Diocesan Assembly. And then if we look at this phase that we're in now, it's integration and implementation at a local level. One of the things that, again, people were asking for and we promised was that it's not just a talk fest. We are actually committed to action and committed to actually getting on the ground and making some of this become a reality. So 2023 is regional assemblies, and then we've got the Global Synod, the first session of the Global Synod, and at the end of last year they announced that there would be a second Global Synod in 2024, as well as us hosting another diocesan assembly. So trying to get a sense of rhythm in the Archdiocese. So with the 2021, there were 1,783 participants, and that involved a variety of parish groups, school groups, and other groups and communities. So there was a lot of people involved in that first stage as we walk towards our first assembly. In terms of when we move towards our 2022 assembly, we asked people to actually think about what were some of their top, in terms of the recommendations that came out of that first assembly, what were some of the top recommendations? And for those who are at the Diocesan Assembly would remember seeing these in that booklet, and we'll provide this information to, it's part of that resource kit so that people can actually look at that. So top local priorities included outreach to young people, school and parish relationships, faith formation, resources and strategies, becoming welcoming and inclusive communities, families, support and formation, justice, peace and ecology, leadership, which is inclusive of women and young people, sacramental preparation and outreach and evangelisation. So they were top priorities gathered together. In terms of the things that people said that the Archdiocese needed to consider, so moving from local communities to the things that the Archdiocese needed to consider. Leadership, which was inclusive of women and young people. You can see that there's actually a correlation between that and local. Same with outreach for ministry for young people. Resources for faith formation. Again, school parish relationships. Cultural and multicultural dimensions. Families, the support and formation. Consideration of married priest, Aboriginal people, recognition and reconciliation, inclusive language, becoming welcoming and inclusive communities, and support structures for clergy in ministry and life, and justice and peace and ecology. So you can see there is actually a bit of a correlation between what people were desiring at a local level and also what they were desiring at a diocesan level. And we started to do some work, in each of those areas, certainly at a diocesan level as well. So in terms of the regional assembly, purposes and expectation, obviously it's to build connection and relationships at a really local and regional level. To discern shared priorities of the region. So you might be in a region where there are things that are in common that you are struggling with, that are challenges, that are hopes, and the idea is to actually work towards some action. So to develop opportunities for a shared response and collaboration. And then another purpose, obviously, is to advise the Archdiocese of these local realities. One of the things that the Pastoral Services team is keen to do is to actually hear from local communities about what it is that we can be doing to walk alongside parishes and communities. So in terms of expectations, it sounds pretty simple, but you try, that there's some attempt to actually try and gather a region together, that people work together, that there's inclusion of many people as possible, including those not usually involved. So there's an opportunity to reach out further than those who came to the Diocesan Assembly. And that, the Regional Assembly is held within the next 12 months. So what you can expect from us is that we're going to partner and support the planning. So we've got our team is ready to work with the different regions in the planning of these, very much led by the local, the local reality, and that some level of financial support will be provided to the regions, the basic kind of things of feeding people and providing that basic hospitality as well. So in terms of the regions, there's 9 regions that have been developed, which are based on geographic and demographic similarities. Now, some of those actually do follow a deanery basis, but some of them don't. Some of them, and nothing is set in stone, obviously. We're actually asking regions to adjust their realities. So like one really obvious example might be, Gawler, who says, well, we could either identify with the region that has Salisbury in it, or we could actually identify with the Northern Light region. So that's why we're asking people to determine where they feel like that they best sit. Some, obviously, it makes sense. And then individual communities can choose the region which best suits their context. So, for example, we've got Bin and Kim from the Vietnamese community. You might, join the northern region there. That might make sense for you. But there are other multicultural communities that are actually based in parishes. So they'll opt to join parishes, or there might be like religious orders is another one. There are, I see that you there, Catherine's, you might join the region that actually suits where you're working. There might be a number of pastoral associates or people that are working that are not living in their parish, but they would like to join that region. So that's how we're asking people to decide. And we're asking you to confirm that region by the 1st of March. And obviously open to a conversation to say, we don't think we fit here, we fit... and it's not an attempt, we're not trying to redraw deanery boundaries or anything like that. We're just trying to make it work so that it's actually works for, for what we're trying to achieve.
Now, I'll take you through the toolkit that we've developed for this process. Now, you might have questions brewing already. I'm sure there's already been a lot of questions around the regions and probably different aspects of all of this. So what we ask you to do as we go along, if you want to put your question in the chat, if you can direct it directly to Sarah, that would be probably the best way to do it. You can direct message. But if it's in the open chat, that'll be all right as well. Other people can see all the questions. And then we'll try to address the questions that way at the end of the presentation. Might just be a little bit more orderly than trying to do it all through open video chat. So we've started the process of building the toolkit, which is available on the Diocesan Assembly website. And so you can find that at the address that's on the screen there. So Adelaide Diocesan Assembly.org/regional-assemblies. You can just go straight to the Diocesan Assembly website, and right in the navigation bar at the top of the screen, you'll see regional assemblies as an option. And it'll take you to a variety of different options, which essentially just leads you to a Google Drive where all of these elements of the toolkit are kept. It's being added to as we go along, partly because we know that tools will need to be developed as we go through this whole process. So if there's something in that's not in here that you'd like to see, we can be part of developing that. If there's something that you develop that you think other regions could benefit from, we could throw it in the toolkit and make it available to everybody. So one of the major aspects of the project of the regional assemblies is collaboration and sharing and doing this together. Because this is, although it's an old concept and we have a history of these kinds of things to some level, we're entering brand new territory in other ways. And so new toolkits will be needed, new elements to the toolkit will be needed as we go through. So just to reiterate the purpose of, and maybe to go a little deeper into the purpose of the regional assemblies. So the 2023 regional assemblies are a continuation, as Sarah said, of what we began through not only the diocesan assemblies, but also the plenary council and now the global synod. And the regional assemblies are meant to involve a greater number of people at the local level in participation, communion, and mission, which is at the heart of synodality. So the regional assemblies offer parishes, communities, and schools an opportunity to engage in mutual listening, developing responses to shared needs, and collaboration for missionary action. So this is really an effort to enter more deeply into our exploration of being a synodal church, our commitment to being a synodal church, which essentially require listening and dialogue, working together to develop shared needs across the whole spectrum of who we are as the body of Christ, the people of God in the church and in society. And so that we are more poised and better poised and ready for mission and in our life, in our work. So we'll center around, we're proposing these questions to center your regional assembly around. What are we being called to participate in the mission of God in this time and place? So as the people of this region, what are we being called to participate in the mission of God in this time and this place? And under that, we've got some prompting questions that will help you and your planning committees to go further into the planning of your regional assembly. So what is our shared reality in this part of the Archdiocese? What are the priorities of our local communities, the commonalities across our region and the differences? And what can we work on together? There are some things that will work together. There are some things that you can only do probably in your own communities. So how can we support each other in all those? What are the gifts and the strengths of our members and our communities that can be shared across our region? So these are the things that we'd like you to be exploring. Now, the toolkit also includes some instructions or recommendations really around a planning committee. Now, again, none of this is set in stone. These are recommendations and suggestions, but we'd like to see a planning committee form with people who, yourselves perhaps, who take charge of this in your region and work together towards this. So each community in the region is invited to nominate leaders to the planning committee. And we ask that those planning committee members be practicing parishioners, staff member, or in leadership of a parish, school, or Catholic community within the designated region. So you got to have skin in the game in order to play. And they have to be able to participate in the planning meetings. So they've got to be available. Of course, you decide when those meetings are. They have to be available to assist with key aspects of your assembly and to actually be there. It's hard to be on the planning committee but not show up for the day. So the planning committee's role really is to develop the agenda and the essential discussion questions, as well as to prepare all of the major aspects of your regional assembly. So ideally, you're focusing the agenda on listening, dialogue, discernment, and commitment to missionary action. Spending time reading the signs of the times, understanding the context in which your region is in. Building connections with the diocesan assemblies, the recommendations that have come out so far, and the feedback. So it's not just a vacuum, in and of itself. You just choosing, do you need presenters? Do you need, keynote speakers? How is your program going to work for the day? Deciding how you're going to engage in listening before, during, and after the assembly with your community. You may not necessarily need to do further consultation. There's been a lot done already with the plenary council, with the synod, and our diocesan stuff. So there's information out there for your community, your local community. And of course, communication. How are you going to let people know this is happening? The other part of the work of the planning committee is to determine who will be participating in the assembly and invite them to come. Of course, there's the option to have open invitation. Anybody can come. There's benefits and pitfalls to that. Knowing who you're catering for, how many bowls of paella you're preparing for is helpful. But also, how do you include the widest variety of voices and perspectives in your gathering? So there's a bit of a tension there. And anytime you do have a gathering, you send out invitations, there's always an aspect of exclusion. So somebody, if you're limited by numbers, somebody has to be excluded. So you have to think about what's the best way to be as open and inclusive of as many people as possible. Who are the best people to have in the room for this event? And you'll have to determine how you're going to get them there and register for this. We've also, in the toolkit, included tips and guides around logistics for hosting the event. Now, some of you are already hosting gurus. You know how to put on a good party and a good event. So we've just got things in there around, what are the roles and responsibilities that need to be developed, setting a budget, selecting a date and a venue, determining your volunteers, invitations and registration again, catering, prayer and the program, and all those aspects of any kind of event. And the Archdiocesan events team has also developed a planning checklist that you can use in addition to the one that's built into the toolkit. So we're trying to give you as many options as possible. There's also recommendations for what needs to happen after the assembly. So we want you to continue the collaboration and the relationship building. One of the things that we're really hoping to see is greater connection and communication between the communities, the schools, and the parishes in a particular area. It's really easy just to focus on your own patch, but as in the rest of society, boundaries are fuzzy, and our regular member or parishioner or family member isn't always bound by the borders that we've developed. So how do we support and remain in connection and collaboration with each other? We'd like to know what happened at the assembly, so there'll be a mechanism for reporting back. It might just be a simple email. It could also be a form, online form or something that we have you send in. But it'll help us to prepare then for the 2024 Diocesan Assembly, where each region will have an opportunity to talk about what it is that they experienced and what those major needs are and how that contributes to the ongoing work and mission of the Archdiocese. There's also information in the toolkit around the 6 pastoral areas from the Diocesan Assembly. So you remember those were the themes that guided the conversation and discussion, the building of the recommendations. And those again came out of the consultation that was done for the 2021 Assembly, and then has been continued to be developed throughout this whole process. And so that might be something that you want to tap into. We've got a lot of different options for discernment and discussion methods that you might want to use. So in your agenda planning, if you'll want to go probably into breakout groups and discuss a particular theme or an aspect of the day, or something of importance to the region. And so we've got the different methods that we've used, both for the diocesan assemblies, as well as the plenary council. So those spiritual conversations, the things that we used in the listening and dialogue phase, way back in 2018, 2019, as well as some others that we've gleaned from religious orders and some other areas, people who have had expertise in this. So there's lots of options for you to choose from. We've included a sample assembly agenda based on a one-day event, basically 9 to 5 or 10 to 5. So not a huge ask, but a one-day event. So we're, and depending on your situation, you might choose to go longer or shorter, whatever it is that's going to fit best for the context of your assembly and your region. And again, the things that we've mentioned before, what the Archdiocese, what we in the Pastoral Services team are committing to and supporting the success of your regional assembly. One is that members of the Pastoral Services team are being assigned to support each regional assembly in its planning and in its implementation. And so one of the things that we want to commit to is that as you put together your planning team, we will be with you at those first meetings to help get things started and to troubleshoot and to come back to our office and talk to each other about, okay, what are the things that are needed across these different regions? So we will be there walking with you all along the way. So you're not on your own doing this. Some of you will obviously be able to take this and run with it. You probably won't need our help. Others might need a little bit more help in rounding people up and getting it started. Obviously, there's the online toolkit, and like I said, it's being added to continuously, and an aspect of funding that we'll be able to provide for you. So as we get started, I guess, you know, what's the first step? How are you gonna get moving? So we're asking that by March 1st, and this was in the letter that went out from Archbishop O'Regan, that first of all, you let us know which region you definitely want to be in. So we've already heard from a couple that have said, all right, we're on the edge of one region. We actually think we belong in this other one. So put us over there. The next thing that we need to know is who the contact person is going to be from your community. And then what we'll do from there is we'll send the contacts out for each region, and we'll help to organize the first meeting so that everybody can get together, meet each other, see who each other are. And hopefully at that first meeting, you'll choose a point person or point people who will kind of be the core team to keep things moving. And then we'll continue to journey with you along the way. We'll give you your information that you sent us about the Diocesan Assembly feedback. So those top 3 priorities for the local community and for the Archdiocese. So we'll be continuing to assist you with the information that'll be helpful. And like I said, we'll try to get everybody together for an initial meeting, and then journey with you along the way as necessary as long as you've got somebody who's going to, or a group of people who are going to be the primary contacts for your region, then we'll be able to be more successful, I think, with remaining in contact and keeping those aspects of planning moving forward. So again, these are the first things that we need. Confirm your region and let us know who the contact will be from your community. And then we'll help to guide you along the way towards that first planning meeting and getting things started. So the hardest part is always taking that first step. I looked around for some memes and inspirational posters, but really I didn't think anybody needed to groan as we ended this presentation. But our hope really is that you feel successful, that you have a sense of being able to get this done. And look, if you're working at this and you're working at it, and it feels like it's not going anywhere, you can't get it done in the 12-month period, that's okay. We know that collaboration and working together can be difficult, and that sometimes people don't always see eye to eye. There's always interpersonal dynamics, and sometimes the logistics just don't work out. The venue doesn't work out, the catering doesn't work out, whatever it might be. We know that not everything is going to look like the roadmap that we hope it would. But I think the biggest thing that we learned from Sister Natalie Beckart when she was here a couple weeks ago from the Vatican talking about all of this, she said it's really learning by doing. And so just by getting started, taking that first step and trying it out, I think we're going to learn a lot so that the next time we've got something to jump off from. All right, I'll hand over to you, Sarah.
Wonderful. So we've got some opportunity for people to ask some questions, and I think we might try the two methods. If people are happy to type, but there might be people who are not, who that might be a bit difficult to do. But I just want to recognise that there was a question in the chat there that's come from Catherine, saying that the Western region already got a gathering planned for the 18th of March, and can that count as their regional gathering? Absolutely it does, because you're already on the journey, aren't you? You're already well advanced with that. I see there's a question there, Fran, has there been a letter sent from the Archbishop regarding regional communities or the regional assemblies? Oh, you're on mute, hang on just.
No, regional assemblies, sorry, yeah.
Yes, there is. So what we might do is we might actually send that letter
Yes, please.
to everyone who's on that, and we'll make sure. And so we've got another question there from James Ellery. Hello, James. I saw your name come up, but if the communities move from one region to another, when will the rest of us find out? So we'll confirm that after people have confirmed their region. So if someone's moving out of your region, we'll let you know so that you don't contact them and they're, yeah. Any other questions? Are you trying to ask a question there, Jeff, or?
No.
Sarah, I might just demonstrate the website while people are thinking about questions. So this is the Diocesan Assembly website, AdelaideDiocesanAssembly.org. You can see on the top toolbar, Regional Assemblies is the first thing next to the Home button. And if you click on that, it's just a list of what's included in the toolkit. So you've got, you can click on this button, you'll get a direct access to the draft regional group. So that's what's been sent out. Under this, I'm going to put the Archbishop's letter about the regional assemblies. I'll put that right here so that people can see that. And then these are the things that are included at the moment in the planning kit, in the toolkit. So planning steps, events checklist, discernment methods, agenda templates, 6 pastoral areas, prayer resources. And if you click on this button, it'll go straight to the Google Drive. There's a couple other things below that just are more explanation. But if you click on that, you'll see these are the items that are in the Google Drive. I understand that some people had some, I think the Google Drive was locked. That's been fixed, that link has been fixed. So if you go there today, you should be able to get in. The strategic planning resources for the action areas, prayers, music, discernment methods. And of course, you can go to the other areas of the Diocesan Assembly website under resources, and under the current resources and even the 2021 resources. And there are things you can draw from there as well in your planning. If you wanted to make a stronger connection to the diocesan assemblies, the programming, the prayers, the tools and methods are all available there. So hopefully that's helpful to people. And obviously some of you will have your own ways of doing things and methods that maybe you've worked with in the past. And if there are things that you'd like to share that you think that the rest of us could benefit from, we can upload that to the toolkit website as well, and give you acknowledgement, of course, that where it came from, and that hopefully other people can benefit from your wisdom and your experience of that.
Yeah. I also see a couple more questions. Hello, Rita. You're asking, what if not all the parishes in your given region participate? Do you just go ahead? I think the answer to that is yes. Obviously, we're trying to co-opt as many people as possible. But the reality is not all parishes and communities participated in the Diocesan Assembly for a whole lot of reasons. So I think we want the majority, and perhaps even drawing our attention to some of those, groups that you're finding a bit more difficult to get engaged with, and we can help with that. And another question, sorry, that's the same question. And Anne, is identify the region that we individually belong to. Yeah. So, and you're down in, I think the southeast is a pretty clear-cut region. So, we'd be looking for people in that. You may wish to join that coordinating group, and then encourage individuals in your local place. Yeah.
Right. Just what I felt about it was that all we do now is send in what region we want to belong to, but you then send out a list to each one in that region of all the other people who are in that region. Is that right?
Yes.
Right. Thank you.
And you'll be able, I think you can expect that in the second week of March.
Yeah.
Mm.
Kim, thanks for the, I think it's a good idea that what we'll do now is we'll continue to build our database of people who are locally impacted and affected by this, and share that communication. And I think, any communication that comes out from us around the regional assemblies, we'll put on our website, and then we'll also email directly, because we do recognise that things do get held up in a whole number of places. So the more people that can have access to that, the better. Celia, I think there's some people from your York Peninsula. There is Northern Light. I think Father Mark Sexton is here, and also Jeff Redden was here as well. So I think that they were asking who they could make contact with. So we might connect you up as well. That would be helpful. I think one of the other things is too, if you're going along and you realise that there are other resources that you think might be helpful that we could be providing for you, let us know. So if you're able to say, we think we need X, Y, and Z, we can help facilitate some of that if it's possible. Hello, V and Renee. So how much can we assume is known by our parish priest and APRIMs? So there has been communication sent out through all those avenues. I know I've had some conversation with parish priests who are keen to get involved. And so, I mean, they're all certainly aware of it. And there's lots of APRIMs on here tonight as well. And I think there's even a couple of principals. But I think getting that direct connection in your region will be the most effective way to do that. But like we've been saying, like I spoke to Shabu last night, Kathy, he rang me and he was, saying, well, what do I do? And I'm like, well, you've got people in your region that can actually help with this. It doesn't need to be you doing it. So, like there's a way of actually working that works well. He was certainly committed to it, but it's about, bringing people on the journey as well. And well, there's a few parish priests here there too, haven't we? We've got Joseph and who else did I see? I saw Mark, John, and a few more there. Any other questions? Yes, thank you, Cecilia. Recognising that there is quite a difficult pastoral reality in the York Peninsula, that their parish priest, that they don't have a parish priest at the moment, or a resident priest. So we might make sure that information gets sent to other people as well. It's one of the huge barriers, I think, with communication, isn't it? That working out who to send it and how it gets to people on the ground. Any other questions? Do people feel like they can do it, or do they feel overwhelmed? Thumbs up if you feel like you can do it. Catherine, you need to stick your thumbs up because you're already going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, there are a lot of resources. It's been very helpful. I think it's just getting our parishioners involved, I think,
Yes.
and getting the communication going, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously a parish could opt out.
Yep.
So that's a choice as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And I think if we share some of our experience, like, I know, Fran, for you guys, you've actually had a strong history of, you just had a regional assembly, a parish assembly, didn't you, at the end of last year?
Parish assembly, yeah.
Yes, using some of those strengths of that parish assembly to say to people, this is just us opting in for a little bit more, I think is good.
That's good.
All right, there's lots of faces on the screen. Any other questions? Yes, Cecilia, it's certainly recognising that reality there in the York Peninsula. And so, whatever support we can provide there, we're kind of keen to provide that support there. And also, I realised the reality. I remember when Orla and I came up for your PPC, I think some people drove further than I did to get there. So there's a distance reality as well there across even within the parish.
This is I think, a real opportunity to be very grassroots, to be very of the people of God in your place, and to be of the flavor of your community too. So we're not looking for cookie cutter regional assemblies. No two assemblies need to look or feel or even include the same things. So the agenda will be really driven by you and your local communities. And so what you decide to do in that assembly and how you decide to do it, might look completely different to your neighboring region. And that's okay. And I think we're going to use this as an opportunity to learn and to explore and to be a little messy. One of my favorite quotes from Pope Francis at World Youth Day in Rio de Janeiro, I think 2013, right after he became Pope, was go make a mess, get dirty, get your hands dirty, and don't be afraid to make a ruckus.
I'm sure that'll certainly be the reality when I open the door to my bedroom, when I find out what my children have been doing for the last hour. No, it's all right. Their father's out there. Yeah, I think Ben, you make a really good point that having our parish priests and chaplains come along in the journey with us is a really important one. And sometimes the one-on-one conversations are helpful. So if there is a bit of resistance to it, and people, like we can always, have a cup of coffee or have lunch with someone to kind of explain it. I think it's important. I had a gathering with a priest the other day. We had lunch, and he was saying, well, we really need an opportunity just to talk about the things that are important to us, and so honouring everyone in that process, I think, is a really important thing. So, committing to and understanding what people are hesitant about, I think helps us grow and learn a bit more about the community. Hello, John. I can't see you on screen, but when is the assembly to be delivered? We're saying 12 months from now. But that's dependent on your, local reality. You might choose a time that suits best. I think Western Dina, you're in a month and you're going to be done. And so I think even Catherine, sharing some of the learnings from the stuff you're doing there with others after you have done it would be really helpful for others.
Thanks for the affirmation, Sarah. It did take 2 years to get underway.
Yeah.
And it only took 3 planning people. So hopefully it'll be a good assembly. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic.
We just asked, if not me, who?
Yes. Yeah. Any other final questions? And so you might go away tonight, and you might, I hope you don't wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning thinking about it. You may have some, like you go and make yourself a cup of tea or have your dinner. I don't know, what people are up to at this stage, and they might think, oh, gee, I wish I'd asked that, or I wish, I knew this, or, who else is in my region that I might be able to contact with. So Peter and I are always open to you emailing or phoning us, and just talking that stuff through and connecting that up as much as possible. And like we say, we will actually assign someone to each of the regions to walk with you. I might sign up for the Western region, Catherine. No, I'm just kidding. You're already done.
Welcome, Sarah. Welcome.
Yeah. All right. Any final questions? Well, thank you very much. I know that today has been hot, and so I think it's going to be a little bit cooler over the evening. So again, the invitation, thank you. I think it's quite a nice commitment, to have nearly 50 people on here, committed to doing this. So it tells me much more is possible than perhaps we imagined. So we look forward to journeying with you, and always know that, we'll be accompanying you and keep in contact.